need something, I can call you. Or if you need something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every time either of us have, like, been sick or anything like that, we do that. We call each other, or we bring each other food or, like, random medicine or something or whatever.
That was a Citrozine, by the way. Did you know that?
Huh?
That was a Citrozine.
That was a Zyrtec?
Yeah.
Oh. I need to organize my pills. I gave her a pill out of a bag, and we thought it was something else, but apparently it was a Zyrtec. Did it help you?
No. I take that shit all the time.
It's the same shape, and so I think I was like, oh, this is what this is. That's funny.
Okay.
I'm glad you looked it up.
I was just looking at the pill, and I was like,
Make
sure
you
give
do
this
that.
to you. And like
I am a nurse, I promise. Promise.
A nurse that gives me
random
Citrozine
bags
and
of
says, yeah.
I have random bags of pills. I'm like, okay, this is this one. This is Zyrtec. Like,
Well, I slept anyway, so it was fine. Yeah. My mouth is so dry.
what did you think when you read the story that I sent you? What did you think?
I thought, oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
Oh, that explains a lot. No, I'm just kidding. But it did explain some things
yeah,
in my head.
yeah.
About more recent events that happened to you. It kind of made me,
Yeah,
it kind of made my brain go,
that's what's wrong with her. That's why she's
no,
doing
that's
that.
not, no,
No, but
not
really,
that.
no, but
That's
really,
not
but
what's-
really, but you realize, like, things affect people, you know?
Yeah. Well, just like with Austin and what he's, not Austin, I shouldn't have said his name, sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay.
He has to own up.
He does have to own it.
Jacoby. He's Jacoby.
Jacoby Austin Sampson, the third. Now,
You see my shirt?
now nobody
my
knows
Dolly Parton
who
shirt
I'm
I got?
talking about. I love your
You know
Dolly
what I
Parton
just saw
shirt.
about Dolly Parton? That there's, like, a local hospital, and if any of the kids, like, their parents can't pay the bill, they'll call Dolly Parton. They call her, like, directly or whoever, and she just pays the bill.
What?
She just pays the whole bill. And I'm like, she's a hero. I love
I was
her.
listening to her earlier today.
I just love that. I think that's so sweet. I mean, I'm sure other people do it who are famous, but you don't really hear about that. Like when COVID happened, remember she supplied all the, like, didn't she fund all that COVID stuff? Or she's done a
I
lot of
don't
stuff.
know.
She's a hero. She's a hero.
She is a hero.
And I'm like, I love that. That's so sweet.
She is quite a hero.
And go to Dollywood if you get the chance.
Dollywood. Where's Dollywood?
It's in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It's like a theme park, but it's Dollywood.
Tennessee. I've been to Tennessee. I've been to Tennessee. I've been to Tennessee. I went to Memphis. You know, Elvis's.
Graceland.
Yeah, I think his pulls a guitar. Is that right?
I can't remember. I've seen it and I can't remember. I don't know.
I went inside. It was a very strange. Like there's like red velvet somewhere, and I'm like, this is cool, but at the same time, it's a little dark
weird,
and
right?
eerie.
It was a little weird to like walk through somebody's house that they've just kept like just kind of weird.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I'm gonna take
All
my
right.
shoes
Anyways, I guess we should kind of. Yeah, I'm too. We should kind of kick this off.
Literally.
Huh?
Literally.
Let's kick this off with our shoes off.
off. Yeah.
All right. Anyways, this is my second episode of Healing with Hazy, and today I have this amazing woman, single mother of 3, nurse, and neighbor, and friend, and lifesaver. Yeah.
Thank you. That was really sweet.
Victoria. I honestly don't know your last name, though. I'm sorry.
Well, my actual last name is Wilson.
Oh,
but
okay.
got married and divorced, and now my last name is Geisler.
Geisler.
But I kept that
But
last
isn't
name.
that Joseph? That's because the kid.
I kept it because I was
about to
so
say
young,
names
and
again.
I thought that if I switch my last name, they're not going to think I'm their mom, which is not true at all.
No,
but
I did the same thing
I
for a
didn't
while.
know because I was so young. I was just like, oh no, I have to have their same last name. Nobody cares.
No, they
I think
don't.
you can just bring any kid in anywhere, and they're just like, yeah, you're just the
They don't
parent.
care. And for some reason, I remember for some reason, before Evan and I were married, it did bother me that the kids had his last name and not my last name, because when I would go do school documents and stuff, they would just automatically call me that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then I changed it, and now I'm like, ugh. And then I changed it back. So now I'm leaving again.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really care so much. I'm just
It
like,
doesn't- yeah.
it doesn't bother me really. I'm just like, it's just a.
And I went through a phase where I was like, I don't want any narcissistic last names. I don't want Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't want Ligon. I don't want, you can just call me my middle name. And so.
What's your middle name?
Renee.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
that.
And then after my dad died, I found out that there was supposed to be like this little, thing at the end of it. So it was
yeah.
like French.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Renee.
but you didn't put it on my birth certificate. And I'm 30 years old and I'm just now finding out. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, why did you want that if you didn't implement it? But whatever. So, I don't know. Anyways, I wanted to ask you, I know you've told me before. I'm so sorry. But where are you from?
So I'm from Virginia,
Virginia. That's right. Okay.
and I grew up on Bull Run Mountain, like on a mountain. Actually, when I came out here, I have family in McKinney.
Uh-huh.
And, well, not anymore, but I did. Anyways, and I went out to visit, and I stayed the night with, like, my aunt and my uncle. And the next morning, we, like, I don't know, we went, like, into town for something, like, to Target. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. So you guys are literally drive, like, 5 minutes, not even. You guys are, like, there's, like, Target and everything, And she was like, she looked back in the backseat. She was like, yeah, it's called a city. And I was like, whoa, I'm really country. Like, I didn't realize.
How long did it take you to drive to the grocery store?
Well, when I first moved there, it was like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, like to any place. But then they started building stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But either way, like we lived on on a mountain, on Bull Run Mountain.
Was it
Civil
cool?
War. It was really cool. I love it. I loved it so much. Like I'm so glad I got to grow up there.
Have you gotten to go back and visit?
Yeah, I've been back and visiting. It's not the same, And too, honestly, like I love Texas now because there's so much to do here.
Yeah.
Like there's and even for the kids, like there's just stuff to do.
Yeah.
Out there, you can go to the theater, the movies, or you can do drugs and drink, and that's pretty much it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just nothing to do. Even
Yeah.
here, I mean, there's so many parks. There's constantly stuff going on. So Texas is like my forever home. Like I love that place. It's beautiful. But yeah, there's just not a lot to do. Like I've had friends and stuff that got on drugs and stuff because there's nothing to do out there. People
Yeah.
get bored,
Yeah, that's
So.
true. That's kind of how it was in my grandmother's little town, Decatur.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing drugs.
And this is kind of random, but my family is very backwoods, and my great grandma, we used to go to her house, and they actually, like the family, like built her house, and it was like a shack, like a for real shack. You guys, there was a tree, and they came to the tree, and they just built the house around the tree. So there's just a tree in her little like shack house.
You know what? I've been to a house kind
Surreal.
of like that in Denton one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister had a friend named Aaron, and then another guy, I think named Mark, and he had dreadlocks all the way down to his feet. He was so cool.
Whoa.
I was like, I don't know how you do that. How do you walk with that? But they lived that like sheets up, and like it was so cool.
Yeah, I look back at I don't want that house, but
No, I don't want to live there,
but
but
it was cool.
it was like
really cool to see. It was like a cool experience, like growing up around that.
it was like a real life tent that's like in your living room, but it's like real life.
You won't walk on certain parts of the floor because you might
Yeah.
fall through.
That's true. Yeah.
Or like buying apple butter off the hood of a car. You know what I'm saying? I miss stuff like that. Like
Oh yeah, apple butter. Never had that.
it's a country thing. It's a mountain
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
All right. I'm sure my mom's gonna watch this and be like, "We know what apple butter is, really." I'll be like, oh.
My grandma used to say. My grandma
you're
used to tell me.
allergic
She
to
used to
it.
tell me. I used to not know shit from apple butter. That's what she used to tell me.
"Oh, really?"
Yeah, I guess.
My grandmother used to say, "You're full of baloney." Yeah.
Oh man.
Grandparents. I miss my grandparents. I swear they're most
They're
angelic.
gems.
Yeah, they're angelic.
Grandparents are
They're like,
what a gem. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're great.
know.
Grandparents are awesome.
I'm always trying to steal people's grandparents. I really am.
I love it. I know. I love.
Especially at
I
work
love
when the old guys
seniors.
come in with their pets. I'm like, oh, tell me a story.
Be my granddad. I know,
Be my
but I
granddaddy.
genuinely love it. Like I genuinely love
Tell
it. Like,
me a
I want to hear your
Veteran story.
It's so true. I love
do.
it though.
I love
I
stories.
really love it.
I like story time.
Yeah.
That's what it feels
That's
like.
what
Story
this is.
time.
That's what this is.
This is story time. So, we can talk forever about anything. So let's get kicked off before we get lost. So tell me about growing up there in Virginia, right? Around the age of like, I think you said 13 or 14.
Yeah, I was probably like 14 or 15, like when it started.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I think at that time, like most, like I had best like one or two like really good like girlfriends, and the rest of my friends were guys because they all lived on the mountain, you know. And I was mostly, I would say,
Pause? No?
You're good.
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry.
was mostly unsupervised, probably, so it's pretty wild,
Yeah.
but not wild like in a mean, hateful way. Just wild, like I was just very like.
Just free spirited. You
Very
could do
wild,
whatever you
doing
wanted.
whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
We, it came and went as we wanted. I could stay away for nights or a couple days or whatever with friends or wherever. You know what I mean? Like it was just kind of like do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So if that kind of paints a picture. But at the same time, as I was so wild and doing whatever I was doing, I also worked because I had to, because I wanted money to, do things that I wanted to do. And I got my car. I bought my own car when I was like 15. I had saved up.
Nice.
And so, yeah, so I definitely worked because I liked being able to buy things that I wanted to buy, and I liked being able to drive.
How old were you when you got your first job?
14 actually.
I was too.
I was 14. Yeah, I had to get a work. You had to get a work permit from school.
Yeah,
to work at 14.
I worked at a pizza place.
Nice. Actually,
It sucked. It was horrible.
I worked at a thrift store. It was actually my friend's dad, and on the weekends I'd work there, and he would drive me there. And I used to drive him probably crazy. His name was Gary. I'll never forget. And he worked at the thrift store, and so like I'd always find cool stuff,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like I'd bring all the cool stuff and like try to like haggle with him, and he would be so irritated. And I'm like, really, Gary, $14 for this? I was like, come on, just do 5, just do 5. And he would literally be like, he was just done with it. and I drove with him, and he drove me back.
He's like, why do I keep giving this chick a job?
Oh, no, it was good though. We were like, he was like family friend, what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, love-hate relationship there, huh? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think he was irritated with
Yeah, irritated. Yeah. So, before we dive into your mom, kind of paint a picture of how your mom was before you got to that point.
So, before everything started, like, my mom was really and truly, like, she was, honestly, like, I would have friends who would be like, oh, my mom is such a bitch, or I don't like my mom, like, they didn't get along, and I was always like, that sucks, because me and my mom were so close, and we had such a good relationship.
Yeah.
We really did. My mom was the best mom. Like, she worked so hard. And not only did she work, she had a lot of patience, and like she would take the time to teach me things. Like she was a good mom. Like you know what I mean, a very good mom. She would like I had trouble in school. Like she came up to that school and was like in the principal. I mean, you know what I mean. Like she was a very good mom, very involved, very like present.
Yeah.
Just a good mom. Good,
Yeah.
She was. So before all that, normal. You know what I mean.
Yeah. And then what happened?
And then we had a lot of deaths in the family. Her sister died, and then her other sister died, and then her brother died. And I think when her first two sisters died, I think like that's kind of when it was all very close together.
Wow.
So, and unexpected, like this is, you know what I mean? And so I think when that happened, it sort of, she just was depressed,
Yeah. That's crazy. My mom actually had several, like, very similar
Yeah.
story with it like that.
Yeah. And everybody handles things differently.
Yeah.
They
But,
just do.
yeah, it was like death after death after
Yeah.
death. So But it was after her brother died, right? That she
Because they were the closest. They were the closest.
Yeah.
And I think once he passed away, that was just like, that really kind of set her off. I
Yeah.
think,
Were they like sudden deaths or were they like?
yeah, all pretty sudden.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And she was there, actually, and I think that probably had a big thing to do with it. Like the first sister who passed away, she had cancer, but nobody really thought like, oh, she's gonna, like, like she went into remission and all this kind of stuff, and then she came back, and then it just like progressed really quickly.
Yeah.
So it was pretty sudden. And then her other she was there for that. She was there when she passed away.
Yeah.
And then she was there when her other sister passed away. She had emphysema forever. I don't know if she was born with it. I don't know, but she had emphysema forever. And she was there when she passed away. And then she was there when her brother passed away. And then we had more deaths after that, what I mean?
it
But
just
those were the
came in
ones that were
hard.
just really, I think, happened so fast and so close together. So,
Yeah. So she kind of went into a dark depression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I think you said that you invited her other sister. She had another sister? Is that right?
That was so basically
Cousin?
she went through this little like episode or whatever, like she wouldn't get out of the bed. I couldn't get her out of bed. She just laid in the bed.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen her do that before, and she wouldn't get up and eat. I don't know if I guess she went up to go to the bathroom. I don't remember, but I mean, she stunk like for days. She would not get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, it reminded me of that episode of Shameless, if you know what Shameless is, that it was like season 2 or something. The mom comes back and she did just that. And I have never seen that before or since, and I was like, oh my God, like I just related
was
so
the
much.
first time
She
you
just,
connected.
she wouldn't even respond. Like I'd be like, Mom, come on, let's get some food. And she was just not talking, just lay there and be like, Mom, come on, get up. Mom, she wouldn't even respond to me. Like she was just out, like.
And how old
So
was
no.
your sister?
We are 7 years apart, so she was probably like 7 when it started.
And your mom and your dad are still together?
They're still together now, yeah.
And they were together through that time too?
Yeah. They had some rocky times
Some up
or
and
on and
downs,
off
yeah.
or whatever, but they're back together. Yeah.
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 So, how did he respond to her being that way?
He still had to work a lot. And
Yeah.
at that time, I think he was working away from home a lot.
Okay.
So there was times like where he wasn't even there. So I don't think
Yeah.
really sometimes he even really knew all of
What was going on?
on.
She probably perked up a little bit when he came back home.
I don't think so. I mean, I tried to get, anyways, I called her cousin to come because didn't want to shame her and embarrass her by like
Right.
calling my grandparents or, whoever, people that I thought might be judgmental, but I knew her cousin definitely wouldn't be. So I called her and she did come out one time and tried to get her up. My mom wouldn't get up, but she never came back. And, that kind of got me thinking like, it really makes me happy that I have the small like support system that I have, like
Yeah.
other, friends and whatever. And because I think about that, she knew my mom. That's not my mom. So wouldn't you be concerned? Like, wouldn't you be like, oh, something's definitely wrong. Like she won't get out of bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of, even till this day, kind of stings to think that nobody really was like checking in, even though they knew something was wrong. Like they were more just like, oh wow, look what she's doing, instead of like, whoa, this is like, is she okay? Like maybe we should do something or check in on her. And I feel like that's what was happening.
Yeah. I mean, she obviously wasn't okay.
Exactly.
And who could be?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame her for all of those things. Some of the other things I definitely have feelings about, but yeah.
I was thinking, what was I going to say? Oh, well. How did it make you feel when your dad was gone and your mom was in bed? Like, how were you like?
I don't
Were you like,
know.
I've got to jump into... I see you as like the same way that my mom or my sister took over in life. Like, okay, it's time to take over. I'm going to have to do these responsibilities now. I've got to take care of my little sister.
That's kind of what that's what happened. That's what happened. Basically, I started. Well, I had to because we had to have laundry, and you know what I mean. Even though I had done lots of chores and was like involved, like I had to cook, and I knew how to do some stuff. Like I really had to take over like cooking, doing laundry, taking care of things and stuff like that. Yeah, so.
And I think you said something about you had to bring some you would go get. No. I'm thinking of something else.
Oh, the groceries? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but not. So we don't have to skip. That's skipping ahead, I think. Oh yeah, you said that she subtly started to drink. So your mom was not drinking before.
Right. I had literally I really never saw my mom drink really. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My mom was just like super happy, like I said, worked hard all the time. Like I never saw her drink really. Maybe
Yeah.
some wine or something, but never like drunk like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. She just slowly, like, I think after she kind of like when the depression really started, then she started drinking, and it happened slowly, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then it just got worse and worse over time.
Yeah. And she kind of transformed into a different person.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So
For
she went
sure.
from this very sweet, loving person to this like probably
She wasn't even working anymore. I mean, she couldn't even work. Like, she could
couldn't
not
work,
function.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate that for her. I hate that she had to experience that, and that she felt like she didn't have, maybe, I don't know how she felt, but that, you know, that was what she went to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I remember what I was going to say earlier. I wanted to touch on that. I have met your mother and your dad.
Yeah.
And you're right. Your dad is such a sweet, kind person.
Yeah.
He came over to fix my window. So side story,
Yeah.
my son and her son,
Yeah, they were over here, right?
they were playing, and her son thought it would be funny to take the peanut butter jar and throw it at the bed. And
He was saying, yeah.
like, while he was running, and be like, I'll be back in a jiffy, because it was Jiffy peanut butter, and he threw it on the bed, and it bounced off, went right through the window, and busted Ewan's window out. And we couldn't help but laugh,
I
because,
felt
oh my
so
God.
terrible. I was like, why? And how hard did he have to throw that? You know, that, like, I feel like he had to throw that
I
pretty
don't
hard.
know, but once I found out what it was, like, the reason, I was like, oh, that's silly.
Yeah.
Love it. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to say, and I met your mom, and she was very sweet.
They're
She
sweet
was
people. They're
kind,
very
yeah.
sweet people, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that's just the thing, is that anybody can
go in a dark
Anybody
place
can have-
and get out of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anybody can have trauma, and you would never know. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I've learned too, like as I've grown to, like, you really don't know what anybody's been through or gone through. You don't know.
Well, and that's kind of why I'm doing this, because it feels like just ever since I started healing from my own personal problems and the growth that I've had, other people just magnetize to you because they start to see that you're doing okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like, so then they start opening up to you. And I was like, there's just too many stories to be told
Sure.
that everybody's going through the same thing. And maybe, just maybe, if we talk about it, you
Absolutely.
know,
No, I
then-
think
and like we
talking,
talk
yeah.
about how you got through these times, then other people can heal from it.
I think it's so important too because, like, for example, like growing up, my grandma, if I would ever cry, you know, or she was like somebody that I could go to.
Yeah.
And, like, I remember, like, she would be like, now quit all that crying, because all it's going to do is make your eyes red, so quit.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, yeah, okay, you're right, you know, like, stop crying.
Yeah.
You know? And no, actually, don't do that, you know? But that's how I grew up, and I think I grew up around these women who are just like, you don't cry, you don't do that.
Yeah, you got to suck it up.
You know, and so I was like, okay, that's how I have to be. Now that I'm older, I cry more now than I ever did, you know,
Oh my
ever
gosh.
did. Because I realize that it's okay and it's acceptable. And but I
It is
felt
okay, but sometimes
yeah.
literally I'll be like just hanging out with people. Everything's fine. And then I'm just...
It can just hit you.
And they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. I'm perfectly fine.
I'm
My
thinking
eyes
about
are just-
something or, you know, but that's just the thing.
Yeah.
Is it's okay to cry. It's good. It's healthy. And it's okay
very
to
healthy,
talk
yeah.
about things. Also, think about like the stigma with therapy. Used to be, you know, there was this big stigma about going to therapy and getting help and whatever. Now, everybody goes to therapy. And I think they should. I think everybody should go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it can ever hurt. You know, even it's always good to get that support and get it outside
Yeah.
view. And I just think the more we do open up and talk about things, I think the more everybody can heal.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, and so one thing that maybe can help somebody is something that helped me and it helped you, I feel like, because we talked about it yesterday. I ask everybody who wants to be on my podcast to send me an email of their story. And the reason for this is because it helps me prepare, but it also helps the person prepare for what they're going to talk about. And it can be kind of healing because I had a lot of trouble with some trauma that I've been through. And I thought, you know what? Especially through COVID, you couldn't really do therapy too much. And people, you know.
Yeah.
But if you write it down or you at least say it out loud, then it's not just in your head, living in your head. You're actually putting it out there. And it just kind of, for me, it feels relief. Because I could get real OCD in my head and just repeat.
And I will say, this just for me personally, like, I did not, I'm just turned 32 this year. I did not think that this traumatized me. I really, I had a long-term boyfriend when I was like, when I was a teenager, when that was going on, and we broke up. And I remember at one point, like during the breakup, he was like, you know, I don't know if he said like, I hate your mom for doing this, or like something about like along those lines of like, I hate that your mom's, you know, done all this to you and all this stuff. And I was like I was defending her. Like I was like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like that's the place I was at. I was really like,
because it's
everything's fine. I'm fine. This isn't affecting me, you know? And actually for a long time, I did not think that it affected me. But as I've gotten older, of course it's affected me, and it still affects me. Yeah. But I think owning it, and I was also so embarrassed because I think that's the other thing too. We nobody talks about anything. When you don't talk about it, I had this feeling like nobody would, if I could tell them the things that happened, they would be like, wow, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah. But no, that's not the case. People can relate and people can understand, and it is, you know, it is a trauma and it is something that happened, you know, but for a long time I really was like, no, it wasn't. This didn't affect me.
Yeah.
But again, I think, and I hope, and I think like our generation and future generations, like I think people are more open about talking about things. Yeah. And I think we're sort of in that later, you know, generation where people still didn't.
Yeah. It's fairly new for, I mean, it kind of happened fast too, but it's fairly new for people to, and I don't know, women's rights are like up and down right now. So I don't know what to do about that.
Are we celebrating tomorrow?
It's an attack against us, is what people are saying.
Yeah, but now everybody's going to therapy, and I'm like, it's great. I'm like, do it, everybody go. I think it's great, you know?
No, I agree. It is great.
Can you imagine being a therapist? If I was a therapist, I'd fucking need therapy. Oh my God.
They do, believe me, they do. They do need therapy. But so when she started drinking, you were telling me a story about how y'all started to go to, y'all went and visited some friends in North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yes. So I had a friend
and that kind of got her up and going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a friend down the street. We'd been friends for years. And anyways, and his family, we were like really close. And anyways, his family like had invited us to come down to North Carolina. They had an extra house down there. And so we went, and there was really nothing to do. It was just like a house, and like they had like a 4-wheel. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just a place to get away.
Yeah,
you know, whatever.
Just to have fun.
And so we went. Even my dad went. Like, we all went. And there was times like I went by myself with them or whatever. But that's like, I realized when it started, because for whatever reason, you know, through that, because they didn't really, my parents and my friends' parents really didn't know each other. And I think that's when they got to know each other. And then my mom started having an affair with the dad.
Oh.
Yeah. And again, not like my mom. Like she just, and I think truly, and only because she was drinking and all of those things that she went there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my dad's super handsome and he's like a really great, you know what I mean? I think it was just like, you know, all of, you know, when you start doing things that are negative,
think when you feel
know,
numb, maybe, and you're drinking a lot, you don't really feel much. You're trying to feel something. You just do whatever. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
We don't know why we do the things we do sometimes, but
I don't know. I've never been an alcoholic. But, you know, I guess I could get how somebody could be.
Yeah.
Easily.
Sure.
And yeah, I think they do tend to cheat a lot.
Well, I think when
I
you're
think-
doing
yeah.
negative, I think when you're doing negative things and you're not thinking right, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that
Somebody
hard. It's not
kind
that.
of
It's
making
not
you
that.
feel
It's
good
not
about
that
you're
hard to
safe or
think that you
something,
do
yeah.
something else negative or you make a bad choice. I
Yeah.
mean,
It just kind of goes like a trickle effect.
Yeah.
So when they started having an affair, was this when she would be gone for days and weeks at a time, or?
yes, I think. Yeah, I think she was gone with him. I think so.
Okay. Because this is where you were talking about the groceries, right? So just kind of paint a picture and tell them now how your mom was. Like, what was going on?
So, like, it started as, like, one time, like, she called me. This was, like, in the beginning. Like, she called me, like, to meet her down some road or something. And I was like, huh? What? She was, like, asking me to bring this medicine, bring this, pack it, all this stuff in a bag. And I'm like, okay, wait, what? Why? Like, and she was, like, basically, she was having me, like, pack stuff in a bag for her because she was going to be leaving. And I think maybe it's one of the first times I didn't realize what was happening. You know? Like, I was like, what? And
Because you hadn't seen her for like a week at this point, right?
No, I know I had seen her at this time.
Oh,
this
you
this
had
was like
seen
this
her.
was the
This
very
was
beginning.
before.
Like I was just
Okay.
like, you okay? Like is something happening? You had to go. Like what's
Yeah.
going on? And so like I get all the things for her, and I meet her like down this mountain road, and she's like, okay, great, thanks, and like don't tell your dad, blah blah whatever. And I'm like, okay, because we have a good relationship, so I'm like, okay, yeah, like I don't really still understand quite what's going on. And even then, like, because, like, okay, she's got to get away. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes
you just
sense.
started
Like, I was
having
just like,
some worry in
I was
your
just
mind
like,
about,
oh, okay, like, she's having problems. Like, she's got to get away for the weekend. Or I don't know what I was
Yeah.
thinking. But anyways, and she left,
She's gone.
And that's when it started. And it would be like that. And she would leave sometimes. One time, like, she was gone for, like, 2 weeks. And it was like, okay, what in the actual fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, she's gone. And I could not get a hold of her. Like, even if there was an emergency, if I was dying, like, I couldn't get a hold of her, She
Yeah.
wouldn't answer, her phone would be off. Or there was no service where she was, like, in North Carolina,
How old were you at this time?
Like 15 probably,
Still
yeah.
15? Okay.
Yeah, and anyways, one time, I can laugh about it now, but like one time, like she I think she called me and was like, I'm coming home, like need you to meet me outside, whatever. And I'm like, okay. And like I meet her outside, and she is just popped open, and she's just chunking bags of groceries, and we kind of live like up a holler a little bit, so like there's
God.
like bags and the shit's like rolling out, and I'm
no.
my sister runs out behind me, and I'm just like standing there like, and she's just fucking throwing groceries into the
She's
yard
just a baby,
and
right?
stuff's
She's just a toddler.
well, she's like 7 or 8 or
7,
something,
okay,
or
yeah.
8 or whatever, and stuff's just throwing groceries, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's just like, I don't want your dad, I gotta leave before your dad gets home. And she's like throwing groceries and stuff, and I'm like, and then she's like, she didn't even hug us. Like, she was like, all right, bye, love you, bye, or whatever. And then she just, like, backs out way down the driveway or whatever. And I'm just, like, standing there just, like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess we'll bring these groceries. At least she brought groceries, you guys. At least she did bring groceries.
Yeah.
No,
your
but
sister
and then
was crying,
my sister,
right?
she was like, Mom, what are you doing? Don't go, like, And I was like, it's okay, let's just bring these groceries in, like,
Yeah. Let's go eat some canned goods.
Yeah, and this is kind of a side note, but I do want to mention it. Like, when I did finally realize, like I said, even as a grown adult, like I didn't realize it traumatized me.
Yeah.
But once I realized that, I actually had to like call my sister. And apologize to her, and I cried because I was so young, and I was also very at that but had to be made to be so like tough, like
Yeah.
I didn't cry, and I was just like very
Take
tough,
care of everything.
and so I wasn't very loving. I just wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was also like a very like heathen, like punk kind of kid, like just very like what I mean. That's just how I was like,
Yeah.
and so I look back, and she was in a bad mood a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, wow, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, oh, wow, of course she's in a bad mood because she's sad or she's whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just not very loving to her. And so that made me feel terrible as I got older. Like I had like a whole like epiphany about it, and like I called her, and it was really good, and it was very healing. And I told her that, and some of it, she didn't even remember. She told me, she was like, some of that, what you're saying, she was like, I don't even remember. And I was like, well, I remember it.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have known better. Like, like the way you would treat your kids. you know, if they were going through something or whatever. I just did not give her
Well,
that.
how are you supposed to know?
Yeah, but I just did not give her that grace, and I did not.
Kids can't raise kids.
Yeah.
They just can't.
For sure. For sure. And anyways, I just felt bad that I wasn't more loving or understanding towards her. And I felt bad for that.
Yeah.
And then I also left, when I was very young too. When I was 18, I got married and I moved away. And of course, I wanted her to come. I even asked, wanted her to come live with me. And she didn't. She would call me crying because all the stuff was still going on. And I would beg her, come stay with me, come live with me.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to. She didn't want to leave her friends. But anyways, I felt guilty for all of that, for leaving, for not being better for her,
Yeah.
But
My sister
but
has told
it
me
is what
she's
it is.
felt some guilt for leaving me too.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I told her it's fine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, you horrible person. No, I'm just kidding.
No, and
I
you
love
probably
my
weren't
sister.
thinking of it
No,
either,
I didn't think of it
but
at
I
all.
did,
I mean, I was sad when my sister wasn't around because it was more like, why is everybody leaving me here with Dad all the time?
Yeah.
He's the most unhappy person.
But I think
yeah.
I think that's too. I think that's all these little our life story. I think that's what makes us,
Yeah. So I think around that time with the groceries incident was when you think your mom started having a cocaine addiction.
I cannot tell you honestly. It's also kind of
kinda blurs
intermeshed,
together,
but
yeah.
yes, some point during that time, she started
She
doing.
developed that.
Yeah.
And would you say that's when she started being angry? No.
No, I mean when she would drink, even
When
to
she would
even
drink,
to this
she'd be
day,
angry,
even to this
yeah.
day, my mom people can drink and be all kinds of different ways, but when my mom drinks, it's she will like she's a dog, she will literally snarl at you. You're just like, are you a fucking wild animal? What are you doing?
For real? I see
Yeah,
Chloe
no,
doing
no,
something
really,
like that.
really. I'm so serious. But that's how she would be.
We should see when the first time we get our kids drunk.
Oh my god.
I'm scared.
But she would be like that. And I remember, I think I put that in the story too, is she was having that affair, and one time she brought my friend's dad over, which was so weird.
Yeah.
But they were gonna go on a date or something, and she come out of the bathroom and she had this white sweater on, and I remember she was just standing there, she sneezed and blood shot out all over her white sweater.
Oh no.
And I was like, and obviously I knew, because like I said, I was very wild, and because I was very unsupervised, I was also at the time doing cocaine and doing all kinds of things and doing whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is weird, but that sounds but I was also, like I said, I was still going to school and working, doing whatever. But, and I knew that's what it was, and I was just like, wow,
Wow, Mom.
but it's something that I'll never forget. And she was like, oh my goodness, I need to go change or whatever. And I was just like, oh my God. It's so embarrassing to say, but it's true.
Oh. Wait,
It's true.
that's not good. No.
It wasn't, but you know what? Like I said, we were all okay. You know what I mean? We all ended up being fine. And, it's what it was.
Yeah. It was what it was.
That's what it was at the time.
So, at what point did your mom kind of... Actually, I think you said it's fairly recent that she kind of came around. Or wait, when did y'all move to Texas?
Yes. So, actually, that was they moved to Texas in 2011.
Okay.
The very end, or 2011, 2012. I think they moved here. I think they did move here to get a new start.
Yeah.
And my parents have never lived anywhere. All of my family is from West Virginia. Everybody lives in the same spot. Nobody moved. And I got a story or whatever that my dad got a job offer for Dallas or St. Louis, but I don't think that was really true. I think, maybe he did get a job. I think yes, because he was working in Dallas, but I think more than anything, I think it was just they wanted a new start.
Yeah.
Because he had done things too. Of course, I think when that was going on too, he was also having an affair eventually.
Yeah.
Because, you
Were
can only
already
help.
in Texas, or did you move here?
Yeah, I was already here when at the time I was married. And my ex-husband was in the Army, so we lived in Fort Hood.
Okay.
And we were actually going to move back to Virginia because all of our family was there.
Yeah.
And just so happened at that time, they were also going to move here which was just, I mean, so crazy, so
Yeah.
random. We've never wanted to move to Texas, like, you
No,
know?
yeah.
And I never wanted to stay here.
But once you're here, you'll love it.
That's right.
We got all the seasons.
Mm.
Kind of, except for
I don't know.
except for blizzard. I don't like cold at all, so
I love it here now. I
fine
love it.
without
Yeah.
cold weather.
I'm glad they moved here. And then now I'm like, I really am like, I'm glad we ended up here. It was just very kind of random, kind of weird.
Yeah. Do you think that helped her?
For sure.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, there's just not a lot to do out there.
Yeah.
It's not. And not like she was ever drinking before, but the temptation I think is so much greater.
Yeah.
Especially when you have family members who do it or friends who are drinking or doing
That's
whatever.
true.
You know, I think for sure. So I think definitely coming
change
out
of
here.
environment, yeah.
She still drank. Just up until, I mean, this is literally up until a couple of years ago. Still, I would have to, like, me and my sister had to, like, congratulate her for not, like, drinking at Christmas or whatever. And it ruined it. I mean, it just did. Like,
Yeah.
we love her. And I think that's one thing I can say about my family is that, like, it's not, like, about accepting bad behavior, but it's about being supportive of each other. Like,
Yeah.
when somebody's going through something, is that we're, like, you know, okay, like, you know, we want to help you and want to be supportive, but we're not going to support the bad behavior.
Yeah, you
know?
don't enable it.
Yeah, exactly. That you said it. Yeah.
Which is something I did for a long time with my ex-husband's drinking, but I didn't
Oh, yeah.
realize I was doing it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh yeah, that was enabling.
I
was
think that is
enabling.
something. I think this is just my personal
By
opinion, but I
trying to
think
protect them, I'm enabling them to continue.
I think a lot of women have that problem, and I think because one, it's just in our nature. I really think that we're natural, fixers, healers, protectors, and I
Want to
think
make it better.
sure,
Yeah. I can
and
fix it.
sometimes it may not be always in the best way,
No.
but I
No,
think
no.
that's what we try to do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just thinking of things that I've done.
Sure.
And I'm like, you moron. Okay. Yeah. No, but talk nice to yourself. Don't call yourself a moron.
Yeah,
Forgive yourself.
yeah,
And for real though, I have forgiven myself.
yeah.
And that's kind of something you have to do. It sounds silly, but one point I looked at myself and I was like, okay, just pretend you're a little girl and you're talking to yourself.
Yes, yeah,
Like,
yeah. No,
come
yeah.
on.
No, you're right. You are so right.
How are you supposed to know?
I know. Have you seen those
Yeah.
TikToks where they're like, when
so
you treat
sad.
yourself bad, you're talking to this person too, and it'll be like a picture of themselves when they're little, and I'm like, that's so true. Like, but you have to give yourself that grace, like, to just say, like, you know what, this has been my life journey. But I think the important thing is that you can recognize it and you're trying to heal, whatever way that is, So I think that's important. You know what I mean? Is that you make the effort. You don't want to stagnate and just stay in that whatever state. Like, you forgive yourself and you whatever, and you make peace and you keep going,
Yeah. Well,
evolving. I never want to, even as my kids get older, I don't want them to look back at me and be like, "Ugh, she doesn't understand. She's stuck in this past." I don't want to be like that.
And
I
you're
want
not.
to,
You're
I
super-
hope that as times change and things change, that I can change too. Like, that I don't want to stagnate and be like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe like probably how you feel maybe about your grandparents or people in your family who are older, who, you know how it is, they just have these old ideas or whatever. And my thing is, like, you can change with the times or you can die on the wrong side of history. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to keep growing, and it makes me feel good.
yeah.
It makes me feel good to grow and to learn and to be like, oh, okay, learn new things and
Yeah.
just evolve.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Be inspired by anyone.
Yes. Yeah.
I was watching something earlier and it was like a really older lady and they were asking like, who's your, who inspires you? It was an older comedian. And she just started splurting off tons of younger people. And I was like, and I don't know why, but in my head I was like, oh, somebody that old is inspired by,
Yeah.
And I was like, duh.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, why would you not have the humility to not be inspired by younger people?
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know. That was one thing I really
This
was like,
new generation and yeah, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like they are so very direct. All of you, really, you know, like our kids and stuff, like they're so very direct. Seriously.
No, my kid is very direct.
I know, but I love it. You know, at first, I'm not gonna lie. I was sort of like, it's like, hey, Chloe, you know, like your daughter, my kids, all other kids that I've met or no, and a little bit like at first, I was kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit offended because I'm not used to that. But then the more I'm like, no, this is it. Like, this is so it. You know, imagine growing up being so worried about what you're saying or doing or thinking. No, really, you know, I don't want to be. When I grew up, if you'd asked me, like, what do you want to do? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, because you don't want to upset anybody, you know?
Yeah.
But this new generation, they don't give a fuck. They're just like, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I whatever. And at first, I'm kind of like, wow, that's very bold of you. Now I'm like, you know what you want. You know what I mean? Like, I'm grown and I don't know what I want. I can't make a decision to save my life. You know what I mean? I'm like, should I do it or not? I don't know. You know, and now I love it. Like, so that inspires me. Like, I'm just like, you know what you like and you know what you want and get it. Do it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm for it. I'm definitely for it. I think it's great.
Do you think you having kids helped bring your mom, you and your sister having kids helped bring your mom out of it?
Yeah. I
Like
think
they
at one
brought
time
some
too,
joy?
even one
Yeah.
time too, I know I had threatened her a couple times, like, if you don't stop, like, you're not gonna have a relationship with my kids.
Yeah.
And I meant it. And, you know, and, yeah, I'm
I've
sure.
threatened that before
You know.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to. And I think when you were saying like you want to be better for your kids, that was my aha moment.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to get into my stuff right now because we don't have time, but that moment of me just coming home just numb and dead inside and looking at my kids and going, what the is this what I want for them or do I want better?
Yeah.
Like, this is not acceptable. My kids have no choice and I'm not going to let them go through this.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you think your moment was that you started to heal from this and you started to I mean, I think we're always healing, okay? I'm not going to say.
I honestly, I'm going to tell you honestly, I think I pushed it down for a very long time.
Yeah.
I really, and I know I did because, like I said, it wasn't until, I want to say, like, even maybe honestly, like, maybe 4 years ago that I was like, this was trauma. This was, oh my God, this really affected me. Because I grew up like that for so long. That happened for so many years. And then I went straight into, like, getting married to, like, not meaning to, but I think back now and I'm like, I was trying to escape that situation.
Oh, for sure.
That's
what I did.
Trying to escape it. And I just I just snowballed. And I grew accustomed to the chaos and to the craziness. I did that for years.
Yeah.
And so when you
It
go,
almost feels
when you
comfortable.
it's comfortable. When you do that without ever taking a breath, how can you heal? How can you even look back? You can't. So I didn't for a long time. And I want to say, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. It hit me. And like I said, that's when I had to call my sister and was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and talk to her. And it helped talking to her because we hadn't even talked about it. You know, even me and my mom, like, it's just something we just didn't even talk about it. Not that we can't. We are very close and we've been to therapy and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe weren't ready.
It didn't even really occur to me. I think I was just like, oh, that's something that happened.
You just felt normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of my growing up with that I was like, this is normal. And then somebody was like, that's not normal. And I was like, oh, really?
Right.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
That was my aha. Oh, really? That's not.
Yeah. I don't think I had a moment, but I definitely remember standing out back on my deck, like making a phone call to my sister. And that might have been something like that, where I was like, started kind of diving into it in my mind, you know. And then that, like, I was just I started crying. Like, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I wasn't there for her enough. And then that got me thinking about everything. And when we talked, I think that was it. We actually, me and her were talking, and somehow it came about going to therapy. And we did go to therapy.
I was about to ask you. Did you ask? That's when y'all started taking your mom to therapy.
And I didn't think she was going to go, because as much as my mom is, she is very sweet, and we really have a very good relationship. But she does have a problem, even to this day, admitting any kind of fault or guilt. Which is weird because she's such a sweet person.
What's her zodiac?
She's so complicated. She is a Taurus.
Oh. Just like you.
I'm a Taurus. But I also probably have that problem, and I'm working on. I'm working on it.
Well,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Come on.
But it's true. No, if somebody's like, "Hey, you're doing this wrong" or something, and I'm like, "Excuse me," you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But it's I get it. I see it. You know.
It's like a defensive tactic.
Yeah, she's very defensive. Yeah.
Well, it's probably because she's not ready to face she got over. I think probably she got over this trauma. Now she has to face what she did. That's like the next step, right?
Now I have to prepare for when my kids want to take me to therapy.
Right.
I'm ready. Take me to
know.
therapy, baby. Let's do
like,
it.
Every time I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I ruining my kids'
I'm like,
lives?
I know. I'm like, oh man, I know this is gonna come back
trying
one
so
day.
hard, but I swear I'm ruining it.
But but that's one thing too. Like, and I will say sometimes there's things that have happened to me, which is weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to delve into this, but it's like I know people who have like been molested, or I know people who have been through really traumatic things, and then they do it. They do it as they get older,
Isn't that
and I'm
strange?
like, that blows my mind, because to me, like, I am. There's just certain things, like, I'll never abandon my kids like the way my mom did me and my sister. I never do that.
Yeah.
Or just certain things, like, I'm like, whoa, I would never turn around and do that, perpetuate it,
Yeah.
So that just kind of blows my mind that some people will do that, but I don't know, I don't know how to relate to that, but it's just weird. Is that your dog? Is your dog at the door?
Winston's losing his mind.
But I think it's important, like, and I think that's the thing too, is like my mom being very like not really validating me and my feelings and stuff like that. Like, if my kids ever come to me with something that I maybe don't feel the same about, or I don't even whatever, like, I would never be like, you didn't feel like that, it wasn't like that for you. Like, you have to validate it and at least say, okay, like, you felt like that, okay, like, let's, like, that's valid.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, or let's explore it or something. Like, you can't just be like, oh, well,
Yeah.
it wasn't
just
like,
ignore it.
yeah, or just act like it didn't happen. I mean, because everybody experiences some situations differently. You can't tell somebody how they perceived something,
Yeah. No. So we have about 10 minutes left. So what I want to talk about to finish this off is, like, what do you do to calm and get, like, centered and balanced? I know you're a single mom of 3. You're bouncing all over the place, but there has to be a time, because we have to tell people,
honestly,
like, a
talking,
way to get through.
talking.
Yeah.
And like, I had a little crisis last weekend, and I called Haley and she came over.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, you just need that. Like, sometimes just having somebody there for that support, or calling somebody to talk on the phone for 5 minutes, like, that helps me.
Yeah.
It helps me so much, because sometimes, we're alone all the time, I feel like. Not all the
Yeah.
time, but a lot of time.
Well,
I
and
feel like,
if-
as parents or
yeah.
as moms, especially, like, we do a lot for other people, but we're alone,
Yeah.
And it used to be, like I said, when I was younger, I wouldn't reach out, I wouldn't whatever, now that I'm, like, like, I had this little crisis last weekend, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to sink in and just isolate myself. Like, I maybe think I don't have, like, a village or a community, but I do, and all you have to do is reach out.
Yeah.
And as embarrassing or as hard as that might be, once you do it, it's really not, because I've always had this mentality, like, oh, I'm strong, I can do it, I don't need
Do it
help.
by myself. I don't
Why?
need to ask anybody for help.
No, actually,
Yeah.
calling, and you came over and stayed with me for however long you did, and it was so nice, and I'll never forget that. Like, those things are important. Just like, if you'd have called me, I wouldn't even, like, I would never be like, oh, Haley's calling. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm on it. I'm on my way. And I know that's how my
And I was, like, worried all day. I was like, I gotta do this I swear I gotta do this Live Fearless thing. But I'll be there later. I'm gonna come check on you.
And that's the thing, is, like, I think we think so much, like, that we're gonna be a burden on people, but I think if you think about it, like, if it was yourself and somebody called you, you would never feel like your friend or your family is a burden. You'd be like, I'm on my way. I got you. Like, and I know that's how it is. So I decided to reach out, and I'm glad that I did, because why sit there alone when you don't have to?
You don't have to. And you're and You're so strong. I'm super proud of
And
you.
I'm real tired of being real strong, okay?
Yeah, it's it's hard.
It's hard.
And
It's hard.
exhausting. But it's good. Okay.
It's good. It's good.
But I do, and we don't have enough time to talk about it now, but we have way more to dive in with you next time. Because holy cow, she's got more stories, I swear.
But it's good. It's so good to talk about it. It's so good to put it out there
It
and
is
not
good.
be embarrassed and to just own it.
You shouldn't
and
be.
I think that's where I've been for a long time, is embarrassed or feeling like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't talk about it. But I feel like the more I talk about it, the better it does feel.
There is
Especially with
something
people
yeah.
that relate. And there's so many people out there that do relate that you don't even know, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And, you know, I mean, just try to pick the right people to talk to you, too.
sometimes you don't know. I mean, you never know. You can talk to somebody, and if you bounce something off and it comes back, great.
Yeah, you feel
But there's a
energy.
lot of people
Yeah,
out
there's
there
so
that
many
you would
people.
never think that really can, you know, everybody's been through something.
That's true. And if you've been through something, you can message me. Well, email me. Yeah, because I have an email called healingwithhazy@gmail.com. All you have to do is send me your story, and I'll review it and get in touch with you. And if you want to be on the podcast, I'd be more than happy to have you. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
thank
much
you for having me.
coming.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that we became friends.
Me too. But I'm going to do a quick story.
Okay.
If you want to edit this out, you can edit this out.
No, it's okay. No, you're
When
going
we
to tell
first
about how
met-
we met. Yeah,
we first met at like a field trip. It was like a field trip. And I had seen her at the school before, but like we met on a field trip. I think I picked you up or something.
No, that was the second one. We actually became field trip buddies after.
Okay, well.
The first time we met at the Perot Museum.
Okay, well, one of the museums we went to, I don't know, we went to one or something. I picked her up, and anyways, we're like walking around. It was like summertime. Anyways,
zoo.
the zoo, yeah,
zoo
it was the
last
zoo.
time, yeah.
And she got a beer. I guess you can get beer at the zoo or whatever. And I was like, I really want a beer too right now, but like, you know, but everybody, you know, you think like the chaperone's mom's like, you can't do that, you know. So I was just like, oh yeah, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I was like,
We're going to be here
are we
all
gonna?
day.
Yeah, I was like, are we gonna be friends? Like, are we friends now? Did we just become best friends? But-
And our kids had already become best friends.
yeah. Yeah,
Joe
my son got in trouble for
slapping his butt at Chloe in
slapping
kindergarten.
his butt at Chloe.
Kindergarten, he said, "Pop," and slapped his butt. And then we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
Anyways, I love you. Thanks for coming on.
I love you too. Thank you for having me.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Bye.